Found for Sue. A wonderful person, a great person. She was the sweetest lady with a gentle laugh, a soft-spoken angel. I thought those are all really good ways to describe her. And people that I've spoken to over the last couple of weeks have told me Sue was smart. She was humble and a peacemaker, but she was able to get the job done. And the thing I heard the most was devoted to her family. And grandkids, everyone knew that your grandma was crazy about you. And when I look at the picture on the front of the memorial card, I am reminded of many pleasant visits that we had, whether it was at the Farmington store, and the most recent visit I had with Sue was with sharing a few tears in the banana aisle at the co-op. And I can recall her saying to me, "You know," and then she'd proceed to tell a story about something that was on her mind. And often she'd have her finger up when she'd say that, and I don't know if anybody else remembers that, but that really is what comes to my mind. You know, she'd shake her head. Well, I'm honored to be able to share what is on my mind when it comes to Sue. So, you know, Sue was born August 7th, 1949. World War II was over, and though there was conflict in the world, the 1950s and the early 60s was a time of hopefulness. The future was looking bright and prosperous. And some famous people born that year were Jeff Bridges, Meryl Streep, and Bruce Springsteen. And where's Dwayne? Dwayne, had circumstances been different, the boss could have been your dad. Lovesick Blues by Hank Williams and the Drifting Cowboys was the #1 song on the radio. Grandkids, in 1949, Newfoundland joined Canada. Silly Putty went on sale in those little crazy plastic eggs, and Kraft cheese slices were invented. Imagine that, your grandma's as old as grilled cheese sandwiches. As Sue grew up, she could have listened to Elvis or Hank Williams, Johnny Horton, and Patsy Cline playing on the radio, if she was lucky enough to have one. I didn't ask Paul, did you guys have a radio?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And chances are she watched TV shows like Bonanza and Gunsmoke, where you knew that the men were always men and the women were always pretty, where you could tell the good guys from the bad, and that's who you rooted for. What a great era to grow up in. And was it all of this history that shaped Sue into the person that she became? Probably not. Apart from the nature that we are born with, it's our family and our life circumstances that shape who we are. And so, instead of me chatting, we're going to get right to the eulogy. We're going to hear about Sue's life. I'm going to ask her son Len to come up and share the eulogy with us.
Suzanne Van was born in Dawson Creek, BC. On August 7, 1949, and was the fourth of 5 children born to Julie and Noelle Van Hoy. Mom had half a childhood spent in the family farm in Bear Canyon, Alberta. The local school only went up to grade 9, so in order to graduate, Mom ended up leaving home to complete her studies in Worsley, Alberta. In her grade 10 years, she became friends with Doreen Sutherland, and it was decided that she would billet at the home of James and Dorsey Sutherland for grade 11 and 12. It was here that she met the love of her life and future husband when she was introduced to their middle son, Phil Sutherland. After graduation in 1966, Mom went on to Grand Prairie, Alberta, and completed a course in business administration. She then worked at CN Rail in Dawson Creek for a short period of time as a receptionist. On September 29, 1967, Mom and Dad were married. They made their first home in Worsley, Alberta, prior to moving to Dawson Creek, BC, where Dad found work at Bora Construction. Dad's job meant spending winters up in the Arctic Circle. So in order to be together, Mom took a job as a camp cook with Bora, and in the winter of 1967-68, they spent it near Norman Wells in the Northwest Territories. From some of the stories that were shared, this was quite the experience for both of them. That one winter was the only one Mom would spend up north, as in June of 1969, I came along, followed by my brother Dwayne in July of 1970, and finally my sister Jackie in August of 1972, which completed the family. Mom's life was now fully dedicated to the care and raising of her children. In the summer of 1977, the family moved to Coos Coopy and quickly settled into a comfortable life. A lot of close lifelong friends were made during Mom's years in Coos, and the weekends were filled with camping trips to the family farms in Bear Canyon and Worsley. Mom was a great cook and spent a lot of time in the garden. She would can almost anything, and to this day there's no substitute for her dill pickles. She was very thrifty and prided herself on seeing how far she could stretch a dollar. There was very little that was ever thrown away or wasted. During her years in Coos, Mom volunteered at the elementary school that us three kids attended and ended up running the Friday lunch program. She was affectionately known as the hot dog lady. Dad continued to work winters away during our childhood years, which made Mom very independent and resourceful. It was commonplace for Mom to spend half the night up working with us on some school project, and I remember one occurrence where she was helping me with a Cub Scout garden project that I was not quite doing up to her standards. She ended up taking over the project and finishing it with a quality that I don't think any 9-year-old boy would have ever been able to achieve. I'm thinking this is one trait I definitely got from my mom, and my daughter's going to attest to. In the summer of 1983, we moved to our place, Mount 12, in the Alaska Highway, which is where Mom resided for the duration of her life. She kept busy at the farm, as we called it. Our early years, we had all sorts of animals, including horses, cows, pigs, and even chickens, none of which were Mom's idea. As time went on, she put her foot down in regards to non-domestic animals, setting foot on the farm, and it was Dad and his dog Chico that now kept her busy. She always maintained her big garden, and with Dad's help, there was always much more food produced than two people could ever eat. Luckily, her children were the beneficiaries of these big gardens and ended up with all the fresh produce we wanted, and none of the work associated with the garden. During the spring and summer months, Mom was often found outside working with the many flowers that she would have in different locations around the yard. Raising her three children was definitely stressful at times. I will be the first to admit that I, for one, did not make her life easy when I was younger. I recall one evening I waited for everyone to go to sleep, borrowed the family car for a night out on the town. Somehow I made it home before Mom got up, but ended up with quite a bit of damage to the fender and missing mufflers. I was awakened from what turned out to be a very short sleep when Mom came through my bedroom door with a very aggressive line of questions. She may have been small, but in her own words, she was snappy, feisty, and fast. All qualities of hers that I got to see firsthand that fateful morning. Once those kids got a little older and more independent, Mom decided she wanted to keep herself busy and went back to work. She started working in the late 80s for our neighbors at the convenience store they owned. Mom really enjoyed her time at Trombley store, but anyone who knew Mom knew that she really didn't enjoy driving. And that lack of enjoyment was intensified during the winter months. As a result, she found something closer to home and started working at Farmington's store. She stayed at that store for many years and, in fact, didn't leave there until late 2009. She took a lot of pride in her work at that store and really enjoyed her time there and the people she met. I don't believe she ever missed a single shift. As time passed, us kids proceeded to get married and have families of our own. Mom entered a new phase of her life, and with that came her grandchildren. In the end, she had 10 of them and loved and spoiled each of them in her own special way. A new set of rules seemed to apply to the grandkids that did not apply to her own children growing up. Eating chips and dip for supper, or eating all the cookie dough before the cookies were even in the oven, now seemed not only accepted but encouraged. And I'm sure all the grandkids will have individual and special memories of their time spent with her. Mom really was a homebody, but as time went on, my sister managed to get her to do a little traveling. It started with a trip to Mexico for Jackie's wedding and included trips over the last few years to places like Las Vegas and Maui. She would always get quite stressed about leaving home, but I believe some of her most treasured memories were as a result of these trips. It was a terrible day in February 2013 when Mom first got the news she had cancer. The initial prognosis looked pretty good, however, as it was an early detection of breast cancer. During the preparation for surgery, it was determined that Mom had a mark on her right lung. This mark turned out to be a primary lung cancer. And was the beginning of a long, courageous battle of a disease that would just not let up. The last 5.5 years seem like they've been a continuous rotation of doctor's visits, scans, needles, surgeries, chemo appointments, and almost anything you can imagine. Through it all, Mom did exactly what was asked of her, often worrying more about about one of us hurting the feelings of anyone associated with her treatments than concerning herself with her own well-being. As terrible as this disease is, and as much as we despise what it did physically to Mom, I think we are all thankful for something that did come as a result of Mom's situation. There was a lot of time spent traveling together to and from doctor's appointments, not only in Dawson Creek, but in Edmonton, Prince George, Grand Prairie, and Vancouver. During these trips, we got to share a lot of conversation and spend time with each other. Although it is not right, life seems crazy busy for all of us, and without being forced to make these trips, we may never have had this time together. I speak for my entire family when I express a heartfelt thank you to the staff at the chemotherapy department, as well as Dr. Larson and the entire radiography department of the Dawson Creek Hospital. While it seems unthinkable, Mom's visits to the chemo department at the hospital were one of the things she actually enjoyed when it came to her battle. She appreciated the caring companionship of the staff and had a special bond with the patients she met in the department that were fighting the same battle as she was. In closing, we'd like to thank you all for being here today to help us celebrate Mom's life. There are going to be some tough days ahead, but we will get through them together. Mom fought this disease right up to the end and gave it everything she had, never thinking she was going to be gone this young. We are comforted by the fact that Mom's pain is now over and she can rest in peace. I love you, Mom.
That's the toughest job to do, but it's the best job. And I always encourage families, if they get a chance, to read the eulogy, that last chance to bring honor and tribute to your loved one. And we're talking about memories, and after this song, Sue's brother Paul is going to come. Not necessarily a soloist, so if you know the words and can join in, you're welcome to. Sue's granddaughter Addie's going to come and share.
My name is Addison Salzma, and this poem is dedicated to my grandma. Life is not the same without you. The sun still rises in the east, and the darkness falls at night. But nothing now seems quite the same. Each day is not as bright. The birds still sing, the flowers grow, the breeze still whispers too. But it will never ever be the same world without you. So sad that you had to go. Your leaving caused such pain, but you were so very special and rarely lost with heaven's gates. Your kisses and hugs, I will miss your kisses and hugs, and your delicious banana muffins. Thank you.
Thanks, Addie. All right, Brother Paul. Sue's brother Paul's going to come and share some memories, and I think he's going to tell you about that picture too, maybe.
Oh, I will, it kind of fits in. Good morning, everyone. I hope that I don't sound as disjointed as Justin Trudeau does. But if I do, forgive me, because I'm afraid that I've been changing this as I've gone along. Most of you will know Sue as an adult. Some of you will know her also as a child, but she had a history of booze, Farmington, at the store, at the volunteer fire department. But what I'm going to show you today, or talk to you today about, is the picture of my sister Susan, the one that was presented as an older brother and a playmate for a period of several years where we were the kids in the family. Van Horn family, from a children's point of view, can best be described as three families. My older sister Janine and my brother Francis were born in 36 and 40, respectively, and I think I got the dates right, might not have. This was the first family, and the second family occurred 7 years later, when I was born, and 2 years later my sister Sue was born. The second family, we're kind of curious as to why 7 years went by and there were no other kids. However, we kind of broke it down into, they must have had some very successful early time birth control, or, you know, Mom just might have been very mad at Dad. And the Van Horn women were very good at holding a grudge. So that could have been it. And there's another theme, because Joanne wasn't born for another 7 years after that, so possibly that's the case. Anyway, it happened that Sue and I were playmates for quite a long time, and a special bond was created between us. We went to the one-room schoolhouse on the Eric Erickson farm on a corner 2 miles from our place. In the summer, not all the time, but in the summer we walked to school often on a dirt road. It was a dead-end road. The only people that more or less lived on it was us. And so there were, we had friends and playmates at school, the Conrads and the Darrell and Marilyn Clay and a whole bunch of other people. But everybody else lived past the school, so we couldn't go find playmates. The only time we had playmates was if they came to visit, or if Dad and Mom took us somewhere. Anyway, so Sue had to do with me, and so we made do with each other, and became very good friends. Anyway, to try and get around this long road to get out and get anywhere, we tried to convince our parents to buy us bikes, and they were not into the giving mood all the time. It took a lot of work, and they told us, well, you're gonna have to earn the money. We soon found that if we tried to do stuff around the farm, it didn't really count for anything because you were expected to do that anyway. So we couldn't make any hay with that. So we ended up coming up with this plan to find beer bottles. And there wasn't a lot of beer drank on that little 2-mile stretch of road from our place to the school. So we went further out, and we used to go to the local Cherry Point Dance Hall. And that was a great place to find bottles. So you could find the Van Horn's kids skulking around between the cars and running around finding the bottles that the drinkers had thrown down. And we'd be hauling them off and throwing them in the back of the truck and hoping to get our bikes that way. Sometimes the day after the dance, Dad would drive us over to the dance hall, and then we could really find a gold mine of bottles because you could see better, and then you could get the ones that were tossed in the bush. And so that's, so I was always trying to get Sue in on my schemes to figure stuff out, and she was quite a willing participant. She was a good worker, so that's what I like. Anyway, what happened was eventually Dad hauled a 1-ton load of bottles to town one day, and he returned with a bike for each of us, so it was a great day. In fairness, my dad contributed a fair bit of the beer bottles himself. And I think he augmented the money a little bit because I don't think we had enough in one load to buy the bikes. We loved the bikes. They were great, but neither one of us could ride. So we had to learn this. Dad wasn't, we did that pretty much on ourselves. There was one little problem. Dad bought the bikes both the same size. So Mom and I had to, or Sue and I had to, even with the seat cranked down and the handlebars all the way down, Sue was really hard pressed to ride her bike. So she went through learning how to ride a bike standing up. But she was a very determined person, so it didn't stop her. Away she went. So that was our little bike riding episode. On the subject of Dad and his beer consumption, I wouldn't be right not to talk about that a little bit. Another ongoing bonding event was our trips to town with Dad. Dad, he always said he was doing Mom a favor by getting a couple of the kids out of the house so she could do other things. But in fairness, he took us to town, a trip to the elevator. I'm not sure if he got a check there or not, but then off to the co-op store. He dropped us off with $1 each, and he'd head to the bar. The dollars lasted a little while because things were cheaper back then, but eventually we ran out, and then we had to try and get them out. So we were either down to the street, the door that went in from the bar, or the one in the lobby, and we'd try and get him to come out. We'd open the door and yell, "Dad, come on!" And eventually he'd send some grumpy old bartender that we didn't know over to give us the what for and tell us to get lost. And there were times when we really worried about whether he's ever going to come out. And it was good to have each other's support when that was happening. Earlier I'd done it on my own. It was much more fun to have somebody with me. However, back in those days, I think I could be mistaken, but I think they had a supper hour thing, and they shut the bar down for just a little bit at supper time. Dad would come up and go home. Yeah. And Sue was a great worker, and when I came up with her brain speak scheme, she always jumped in, and I could convince her to do quite a bit of the work. Another one of our projects that we had was we came up on us on a really rainy day. We were in the house, and we thought, gee, it'd be a great idea if we could get outside and get away from what was going on at home, because usually we just got put to work. So we decided to build a playhouse. And we decided to build this playhouse out back of the garage in the bush. And so every 2x4, every board that we could find anywhere loose on the place, we hauled over there. And we got all this material together, and we built this house. And I was very pleased when we ended up building it, because it seemed to come together pretty well. We didn't know about 16-inch centers or any of that stuff, so the studs just went up wherever. Most of the boards were very short because they were ends on that Dad had cut off when he was building stuff. So we ended up getting all these ends, so sometimes there were like 3 boards in a row that were just from one stud to the next, okay, you nailed on. And we did make this house, and I still can't remember how we got the roof on this thing, but we did get the roof on it. And we built, up on the roof, we found this 20-gallon, little 20-gallon barrel, and it had a little small bung in it, and we forced a hose into there and ran it down the wall, and through the wall into a little tap in Sue's kitchen area, which was a little scab together cupboard. And that was our playhouse. Then we went to the co-op the next time with Dad, and we bought a tea kettle, and I remember we had a little teapot and a number of little cups and stuff, and that was it. Unfortunately, filling that barrel up on the roof with water wasn't a lot of fun, and most of it leaked out before we really used it. It tasted like crap. So we ended up abandoning that part of the project. It was more for show. The real fun of the project, or the real fun of the playhouse, was building it. It wasn't really the living in it or using it. Anyway, eventually things started to change. Joanne came along, we got a school bus, and the new consolidated school was built. And Sue and I were in separate classrooms, separated, so she got her own bunch of friends, I got mine, so things changed a great deal. We didn't have the close bond that we had before. A few years later from that, I went away to school. A few years after that, Sue went away. We both went to Worsley, but we kind of got there at different times. Shortly after she finished the school at Worsley, she brought Bill home, and my dad seemed to like him, and the rest is history. I did know Bill when I was going to Worsley, and I knew him as WJ. For some reason, the kids call the really cool guys by their initials. Anyway, over the years, Sue and Bill's place was the main stop we made when we came back up from Edmonton to visit the family up north. First in Poos, then in Farmington. Lenny, Dwayne, and Jackie are the finest young people that we know. You know, their hard work and respect for their parents and others did not come by chance. The fine family is a testament to the job that Sue and Bill done in raising them. Our own kids loved to hang out with the cousins. They were older, they were really cool, and they had motorbikes. And David always said, "Why can't we have a motorbike?" And I thought, don't be crazy now. But they had these motorbikes. You know, I think this is Dwayne, actually took David out and got him drunk for the first time. We found him with his pants down in the ladies' washroom, passed out. And I'm sure I can blame Dwayne for that. And we weren't invited back to any more Bear Canyon reunions. However, on a little bit of the serious side, losing Sue so early leaves a big hole in everybody's life. My heart goes out to Bill, Annie, Dwayne, Jackie, and their families as they cope with this tremendous loss. And here's where I get to the Justin Trudeau. I think that, and this is my thinking, that one hopes that when they leave this earth, they will be remembered by those they love. They will be remembered for the values and the teaching and the good things that they passed on. I have no doubt that this family, will honor Sue by including her values in decisions made as an ongoing basis. So, all the best, Susie. Rest in peace. Thank you.
you, Paul. I assured him I wouldn't forget his name today, since I'm Pauline. I'll be looking for you at the West Edmonton Mall, Paul. Expect you to greet me. I'm a one-hit wonder. But this one is for Bill. Bill would like this song today. There's a little red hymn book in the pew in front of you if you want to join in, you're welcome to. It's number 14, on page number 14, it's called In the Garden. I've come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of Lord. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Well done, accompanying singers, that was great. Well, I have a little test for all the married men in the room. There will be no preparation time, and giving your answer in a timely fashion is the purpose of this exercise. Wives, you will participate by raising your hand as soon as your husband tells you his answer, if it is correct. Having said that, wives, I am assuming that you will know the answer to my question. Are you ready, husbands? Husbands, please tell your wives the wedding date and what anniversary you will have this year in 2018. Come on, somebody get their hand up. Oh, I see a hand back there. I'm seeing some hands. A lot of discussion by the family. Yeah, that took a while. Well, I'm going to put all you gentlemen to shame. Yeah, there's still some hands coming. There's some math, some finger counting. When I asked Bill about his and Sue's anniversary, he didn't miss a beat. Very quickly he answered me, it will be 51 years on September 29th. So men, shape up. It's been said that a wedding is an event, but a marriage is an achievement. And those who achieve many years together, like Bill and Sue did, have probably learned some lessons and some secrets along the way. And I know a couple who've been married for over 40 years who love to dance. When they get up to dance, she just naturally swings into his arms and they fall into step with each other. And I love to watch them move across the dance floor. She anticipates where he is guiding her, and he keeps them on a safe course that tries to avoid collisions along the way. They don't have to concentrate on their feet or the moves because they are well practiced. So they chat and they smile as they go, and sometimes he even sings in her ear. Now, if the dance floor is crowded, he is a little more watchful, and she pays closer attention to his hand on her back as it leads her along. They may miss a step now and then in such circumstances, but soon they're back in time with each other. They are quite literally in step with each other. A good marriage is like that couple dancing, moving along with each other, anticipating the steps and working your way through the tough spots, occasionally making mistakes but getting back on track, enjoying the journey to the end of the song. Thank you, Bill, for the example that you and Sue set for your family and for your neighbors and friends. And I know you love to dance. So this time we're going to watch Sue's life dance. The family has put together the PowerPoint for us today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Get your tissues out, hey?
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above. For a moment all the world was right, and how could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. Holding you, I held everything. For a moment, wasn't I the king? But if I'd only known how the king would fall, hey, who's to say? You know, I might have changed it all. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. Yes, my life is better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance.
placed gold on my finger. You brought love like I've never known. You gave life to our children, and to me a reason to go on. You're my bread when I'm hungry. You're my shelter from troubled winds. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend. When I need hope and inspiration, you're always strong when I'm tired and weak. I could search this whole world over, you'd still be everything that I need. You're my bread when I'm hungry. You're my shelter from troubled winds. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend. You're my bread when I'm hungry. You're my shelter from troubled winds. You're my anchor in life's ocean. But most of all, you're my best friend.
Honey, I thought you should know that I'm in a hurry. I've gotta move up north, but it's just temporary. I really tried not to lie, but this burden's getting heavy. No, you can't come with me this time. You got your own destiny, yeah. When I look at you, I see your beauty. Now my baby boy, he's gonna lose me. But heaven's not too far away. I know someday you'll visit. And I didn't think you'd go this way. Can I please have one more minute? No, honey, I don't wanna go. Please know that I have to. Look how the cancer is grown. I think it's time I go home. Yes, I can still hear your voice. Sounds just like it did. And I can still feel your hand when it touches my skin. But heaven's not too far away. I know someday you'll visit. And I didn't think you'd go this way. Can I please have one more minute? I gave you life, now you gotta watch it leave my eyes. voice is fading, each breath getting harder. I can hear the tears coming from my daughter. Until we're older, brother, he's thinking back when he was younger, when he had a healthy mother who asked him to take care of his little brother. And he's not really sure about life, or that how could any of this be right. But I know my babies, they will be fine, 'cause they can talk to me anytime. 'Cause heaven's not too far away, I know someday you'll visit. And I didn't think you'd go this way. Can I please have one more minute? I gave you life, now you gotta watch it leave my eyes. But heaven's not too far away, no, I know someday you'll visit. Honey, I thought you should know that I'm in a hurry. I've gotta move up north, but it's just temporary.
Well done, family. Well, actor and comedian Jack Lemmon is credited with saying, "Death ends a life, not a relationship." We've talked a lot about Sue's relationships today, and I'd like to end our time by talking about her greatest joy, her family. We've already heard that Bill and Sue had 3 great kids, that she was proud of her grandchildren, and in my discussion with the Sutherland family, it was made clear to me that they loved and respected her in return. And so I hope you'll bear with my little analogy here. Feel free to giggle if you want. Sue loved gardening, and she especially loved her flowers and plants. She has tried to leave a Christmas cactus legacy, but I hear the recipients of the legacy are... She also loved her lilacs. And I recently read an article about lilacs, and it was called, "What if your lilacs refuse to bloom?" The author, Pamela, from the Flower Patch Farmhouse blog, says, "While visiting a local nursery, I spotted one of the workers whacking the potted lilacs with the rubber hose. I had to ask what in the wide world was he doing, and he explained he was promoting blooms. I thought he was pulling my leg, but then he explained that by beating the plant, it makes it think it's going to die, and it goes into survival mode and it starts to bloom. On larger trees and shrubs, you can use a wood stick or a 2x4. Again, not hitting hard enough to do damage to the trunk, but hard enough to wake it up." Sounds a little bit like parenting, me. If your lilac is not blooming, try and give it a good beating about the base and see what happens. You might be pleasantly surprised. On a more serious note, like those lilacs, Sue and her family took a beating this last 5 years. The road called cancer is not an easy road to travel, but family, after speaking with you, I am convinced that through it all you have bloomed. I think that this little verse says it well. "I walked a mile with pleasure, she chattered all the way, but I was none the wiser for all she had to say. I walked a mile with sorrow, and not a word said she, but oh, the things I learned from her when sorrow walked with me." It's a privilege to walk with your loved one to the end of their life journey, and as some here today know, not everybody gets that opportunity. Bill, you kept that vow you made almost 51 years ago till death do us part. And then Dwayne and Jackie, you did your very best to honor your mom's wishes until she took her last breath and even after. Well done. And I believe that I can say to each one of you here today, though it was difficult, not one of Sue's family would have had it any other way. That looks like blooming to me. Let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the time that we've shared together today. We thank you for Sue and for the life that she lived and the joy that she brought to those around her. I ask that you would comfort her family in the days and weeks, and the months and years to come as they learn to live and adjust to life without Sue. I ask that you would give them wisdom in the many decisions and responsibilities that they have that comes with the passing of a loved one. And I especially ask that you be with Bill in these lonely days, that you would send people to visit and to encourage him. Again, we thank you for today and the privilege that it was to be here sharing in this service. We just ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for Sue?